Hi, everybody. If you're into sports and data, there could be a job for you. Banks are starting to hire again, and more employers say they plan to hire in the second half of this year. I'm Mark Pfeffer, and this is the Dice News Update for Friday, June 4th, 2010. So here's a niche you don't hear a lot about: sports data. It makes sense when you think about it. Fans love to talk about ERAs, RBIs, sacks, shots on goal. They've spilt a lot of beer over those kind of conversations now that I think about it. Well, anyway, outfits like Major League Baseball, the NFL, and individual teams too are trying to find more ways to bring more data to their fans. Some have in-house teams, I mean technical teams, not on-the-field teams, but a number of vendors are starting to help out as well. Companies like 2Ergo or Sports Media. Cisco is a very big player in the area. Does it sound interesting? Well, if you know your way around mobile apps and languages like C# and .NET, you could be the one they're looking for. But it definitely does help to be a sports fan. Really, that counts. Oh, and by the way, Roy Halladay, perfect game. Just saying. So, banks are starting to hire in IT again, especially professionals who can manage new data technology or integration projects. But just because they're starting to hire doesn't mean they're hiring a lot. Bank Technology News says recruiting hasn't returned to the levels of, say, 3 or 4 years ago. Before the recession, a typical IT job search in the field took 3 or 4 months. Now it's taking 6 to 8 months. That's not great, but it's a lot better than last year when basically nothing was hiring. The big takeaway: like in a lot of IT, banks are being really selective, looking for exact matches to very detailed job descriptions. So there are a lot of candidates out there still looking. You have to be realistic in your expectations about time and money. And if you're thinking about asking for relocation, don't. It's just not going to happen. So it looks like hiring is going to grow during the second half. Dice surveyed hiring managers and recruiters, and we found that nearly half plan to add up to 10% more professional employees than they did during the first part of the year. 28% see themselves increasing hiring by 11 to 20%. A quarter see salaries rising for new hires, which is always good news, and that's compared to just 10% 6 months ago. Also, 69% say layoffs aren't likely at their companies within the next 6 months. Last November, that number was 61%. That's it for this week. If you're going to be at the E3 conference in Los Angeles the week of June 14th, send me an email. If we can, I'd like to get together, buy you a beer, and hear about what you're doing in your job, what's going on, if you're looking for a new one, or get any advice you might have for other people out in IT. Kat Miller's going to be back here on Wednesday, back from vacation. I'll be back next Friday. Until then, I'm Mark Pfeffer, Managing Editor of Dice News, and we now return you to your regular desktop.